Science is a living body of information that's not static, it's not fixed. It's designed to be constantly updated when new discoveries come to light.
For centuries, humankind has been fascinated by the unknown and the unexplainable. Stories that defy logic and evade understanding have been passed down through ages and have terrified humans for generations, have both intrigued and terrified us. From the strange vanishing of an entire village to the puzzling disappearance of a whole military unit, these mysteries challenge our understanding of reality. So, can you solve these 5 age-old mysteries that have never been solved? Let's find out. Claudette Souchon. In late February of 1978, 31-year-old Claudette Souchon set out from her home, riding her favorite horse and leading a second one, with her loyal dog by her side. She planned to spend 2 days exploring her family's farmlands in Camargue, France. However, when 3 days passed with no sign of Claudette, her worried mother gathered around 30 neighbors to form a search party. The following day, they found the horse Claudette had been riding. The poor animal had been brutally slaughtered, with witnesses describing it as having been savagely ripped open. Yet, there was no sign of Claudette or her other animals. Another day passed, and the group discovered the second horse. It was alive but extremely traumatized and unable to walk. Once again, Claudette was nowhere to be found, and her dog was also missing. At this point, Claudette's mother alerted the authorities. It became clear that Claudette hadn't simply gotten lost. Something far more sinister had occurred. A week later, police investigators found some of Claudette's clothing scattered on the ground in a burned-out forest clearing, about 100 miles from where she had started her journey. Questions swirled in the minds of the investigators. Where was Claudette? How had she ended up so far from home? What had happened to her that left her without clothing and so severely disturbed one of her horses? Who had butchered her other horse, and why? Despite these mounting questions, no answers came, even after Claudette was finally found. 2 days after discovering her clothing, a woman called the police to report a strange girl outside the town of Rodez, over 200 miles from the farmland. When authorities arrived on the scene, they identified the woman as 31-year-old Claudette Souchon. She was sitting on the ground, covered in mud, with her dog beside her, exhausted but alive. Claudette appeared to be in deep shock and couldn't speak. Despite her condition, there were no signs of physical assault. She seemed immobilized and zombie-like. Police suspected she had been abducted, assaulted, and raped, but a thorough hospital examination later confirmed that she had not been physically harmed. Despite extensive efforts, the police couldn't get any information from Claudette about what had happened, as she remained mute. The mystery deepened when Commissioner Jean Dinat told the Sunday Express that the horse Claudette had been riding wasn't attacked by an animal. It had no bite or claw marks. There was also no explanation for the burned-out glade where her clothing was found. The circumstances were bizarre and puzzling. The case of Claudette Souchon has been hotly debated, with many doubting its authenticity due to the lack of records. There is very little information about Claudette's case online, and it seems records of the young woman stopped after 1978. Some believe the story might be a figment of someone's imagination, given the scant details and abrupt end to the records. It seems odd to fabricate such a tale, but the true story of what happened to Claudette Souchon may forever remain a mystery. The Tomb of Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan is remembered as history's greatest conqueror, a man who transformed disparate nomadic tribes of Mongolia into a formidable force. He led his unified warriors on an extraordinary military campaign across the Eurasian continent, conquering the steppes of Central Asia, northern China, and northern Persia. His successors continued his conquests, creating the largest land empire in history, expanding into Russia, the rest of China, and the Middle East. Notably, his descendants, including Timur and Babur, founded the Timurid and Mughal empires, respectively. Despite his immense power, Genghis Khan was not immortal. He died in August 1227 under mysterious circumstances. Some suggest he succumbed to illness, injuries from hunting, a battle wound, or perhaps he passed away quietly in his sleep. After his death, his body was taken back to Mongolia. There, a grand mausoleum was constructed in his honor, a place of reverence for Mongols everywhere. However, this mausoleum is not his actual resting place. It's merely a memorial. So, where is Genghis Khan buried? The truth is, no one knows. He requested a quiet burial without any markings or signs. Given that disobeying the great Khan, even in death, was unthinkable, his wishes were followed precisely. It is believed that his body was returned to Kenti, in eastern Mongolia, near the Onon River where he was born. but without excavating every inch of Mongolia. Finding his exact burial site remains an elusive quest. According to legend, 2,000 people attended his funeral, only to be killed by his army to keep the location secret. The army was then purportedly killed by his escort, who in turn killed everyone they encountered on their way before committing suicide. While this tale is likely more myth than fact, it underscores Genghis Khan's desire for his final resting place to remain hidden from the world. This humble end is quite striking for a man who carved his name into history through blood and conquest. Just as his burial place remains a mystery, so too do his intentions. Did he seek to rest in peace away from the world's gaze? Or was it another strategic move by a master tactician? We can only speculate, much like everything else about his mysterious life and death. The Oak Island Money Pit. The Oak Island Money Pit is a centuries-old mystery that has fascinated treasure hunters and sparked endless speculation. Located on a small island off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada, this enigma began in 1795 when a young man discovered a strange circular depression in the ground. Intrigued, he started digging and unearthed what appeared to be a man-made pit. As excavations continued over the years, layers of logs, putty, charcoal, and coconut fibers were found, along with cryptic stone inscriptions. These discoveries fueled the belief that a vast treasure was buried deep within the pit. However, reaching this treasure has proven incredibly challenging. The deeper the excavations went, the more the pit seemed to resist discovery. Water would flood the tunnels, and collapses would occur, creating numerous obstacles for treasure hunters. Despite these setbacks, theories about the origins of the Money Pit abound. Some believe it holds the treasure of the Knights Templar, pirate loot, or even secret documents hidden by Sir Francis Bacon. Each theory adds to the allure and mystery of the pit. To this day, the Oak Island Money Pit remains one of the most captivating unsolved mysteries in history. It continues to entice new generations of treasure hunters, each eager to solve the puzzle and unearth its secrets. Atacama Alien. In 2003, a mysterious discovery was made in an abandoned mining town in Chile's Atacama Desert. A skeleton, wrapped in a white cloth and tied with a violet ribbon, was unearthed, sparking wild theories about its origins. The figure was only 6 inches tall and an elongated cranium. The bones showed signs of accelerated aging, leading to speculation that it might be a non-human primate or even an extraterrestrial being. The skeleton was found by Oscar Munoz, who sold it to a private collector in Spain named Ramon Navia Osorio, where it remains today. The bizarre find fueled rumors of alien life, gaining widespread attention and appearing in a documentary that further ignited these claims. Images of the strange specimen quickly spread across the internet, captivating the curiosity of people worldwide. In 2018, scientists in California extracted DNA from the skeleton to uncover its true origins. After extensive testing, they determined it was not an alien or a non-human primate, but a human female. This woman had mutations in at least 7 genes, known to cause issues with bone formation, leading to her unusual shape, size, and seemingly advanced age. The DNA samples closely resembled those of other Chilean people, suggesting she was of local origin. These findings provided valuable insights into the genetic mutations that affected her. Scientists believe this discovery can help future patients with similar defects, as new therapies and medications can be developed based on these genetic insights. What began as a mystery in the desert has turned into a breakthrough in medical science, shedding light on rare genetic conditions and offering hope for improved treatments. The story of this tiny skeleton is a fascinating blend of history, science, and the enduring human quest for understanding. Ambrose Bierce. Born in Ohio on June 24, 1842, Ambrose Bierce was a renowned short story writer, journalist, poet, and Civil War veteran. Today, his works are celebrated, particularly his horror stories, reflecting his lifelong fascination with death. This preoccupation with mortality has added an intriguing layer to his mysterious disappearance, captivating true crime enthusiasts. In October 1913, 71-year-old Ambrose, newly divorced, embraced his freedom to wander once more. He reportedly packed his belongings, mounted his horse, and left Washington, D.C. to revisit his old Civil War battlefields. By December, he had journeyed through Louisiana and Texas, eventually crossing into Mexico via El Paso, amidst the chaos of the Mexican Revolution. Some accounts suggest that Ambrose joined Pancho Villa's army as an observer, traveling as far as Chihuahua. The reasons behind his interest in the revolution remain unclear. Was he researching a news story or seeking an interview with the general? Skeptic and paranormal investigator Joe Nickel noted that Ambrose, suffering from asthma and no longer riding horses, might not have undertaken such a grueling trip. However, evidence suggests he did reach Chihuahua, as he sent a letter dated December 26, 1913, to his friend and fellow writer Blanche Partington, stating, "As for me, I leave here tomorrow for an unknown destination." This letter, however, has never been found. Other sources claim his final correspondence was to his daughter, not Blanche. After this final note, Ambrose Bierce vanished, never to be heard from again. Reports place his last sighting in January 1914 in Chihuahua. Despite an official investigation into his disappearance, no trace of him was ever discovered. Pancho Villa's men were interrogated both at the time of Ambrose Bierce's disappearance and later, but their accounts were contradictory, leading to various theories about the writer's fate. Some believe Bierce took his own life, with the letter being a ruse by Bierce or an unknown party. Known for his angry, short-tempered, and rude demeanor, it's speculated he might have clashed with Villa, leading to his death. Other theories suggest Bierce lived out his days in anonymity, died unidentified in an asylum, or was killed during a Mexican siege. A California dentist claimed he spoke to Villa under the pretense of being an enemy of Bierce and wanted to know his fate. Villa allegedly said the 71-year-old would not bother him anymore. An American soldier also alleged that Bierce was killed by Mexican federal fighters while drinking at a cantina in a mining camp called Sierra Mojada. In 2002, a journalist uncovered an old letter to the editor of a Texas local paper. The author of the letter recounted picking up an elderly hitchhiker named Ambrosia, who appeared sick and frail. The hitchhiker spoke of the books he had written, including one with "Devil" in the title, likely referring to Bierce's famous work, The Devil's Dictionary. According to the letter, Ambrosia didn't survive the trip, succumbing to pneumonia on January 70, 1914. His body was reportedly buried in an unmarked grave in Marfa, Texas. Despite the intriguing stories, there is little concrete evidence to confirm Bierce's presence in Mexico or his final fate. His disappearance remains shrouded in mystery, leaving us to wonder about the ultimate fate of this mysterious writer. Whether he perished in Mexico or elsewhere, the true story of Ambrose Bierce's final days may forever remain an unsolved mystery. The collapse of Bronze Age. One of the greatest mysteries in history is the sudden collapse of several mighty empires around 1200 BCE in the eastern Mediterranean and Mesopotamia. Names like the Hittites, Babylonians, and Mycenaean Greeks might sound familiar. They were the powerhouses of their time, boasting large populations and formidable influence. Yet, within a span of 50 years, these great civilizations vanished almost entirely. Archaeological evidence shows that nearly every major city in the eastern Mediterranean was violently destroyed, many never to be inhabited again. So, what happened to these powerful states? The honest answer is, we don't know for sure. While we have made significant progress in understanding the Bronze Age collapse, the exact reasons remain elusive. Historians have proposed a theory known as the systems collapse theory to explain this mysterious period. Essentially, this theory suggests that everything that could go wrong did go wrong simultaneously, leading to a total societal breakdown. Imagine if the internet crashed, followed by the collapse of TV networks, and then all Starbucks locations closed down. It would create chaos and disrupt everyday life. During this period, there were likely several contributing factors. Famines and natural disasters would have strained resources and weakened these societies. Additionally, there were significant shortages of tin, a crucial component of bronze, which was essential for making tools and weapons at the time. The scarcity of tin would have crippled these Bronze Age civilizations, making it difficult for them to sustain their way of life. Bruce Campbell. In early April of 1959, Bruce Nelson Campbell and his wife Melita embarked on a journey from their home in Northampton, Massachusetts, to Jacksonville, Illinois. They were eagerly heading to visit their son, Bruce Jr., and to celebrate meeting their first grandchild. What was supposed to be a joyful trip turned into a series of troubling events. The drive to Illinois was long and tiring. Bruce, a 57-year-old stockbroker, found the journey exhausting. As the drive dragged on, he began feeling unwell, experiencing disorientation and confusion. Concerned for her husband, Melita made Bruce pull over, and they decided to rest for the night at the Sandman Motel, a small, family-owned place on Walnut Street in Jacksonville. Once they checked in, Melita quickly put Bruce to bed. Bruce Jr. arranged for a doctor to visit his father, who then prescribed medication to help Bruce sleep. Unfortunately, the medication didn't seem to work immediately. It took 2 days before Bruce started showing signs of improvement. On April 14th, the couple finally visited Bruce Jr. Although Bruce Sr. appeared rational, he was still somewhat disoriented. That night, Bruce woke Melita twice, asking if their car was locked. Each time, Melita reassured him that the vehicle, parked just outside their motel room, was secure. Satisfied, Bruce went back to sleep. Around 2:15 a.m., Melita woke up suddenly and noticed that Bruce was not in bed. Alarmed, she checked the bathroom, but he wasn't there. She then saw that the room's door was unlatched. Rushing outside, she found no sign of Bruce in the parking lot. The couple's station wagon was still there, locked and undisturbed. Desperate for answers, Melita asked the motel clerk if he had seen anyone pass by the check-in office. The clerk reported seeing nothing unusual. Bruce Nelson Campbell had vanished without a trace, leaving his family bewildered and worried. The local police department responded promptly to the call and arrived at the scene where Matila, Bruce's wife, provided them with a detailed description of her husband. Bruce was a tall man with a noticeable limp, making him stand out, especially since he was wearing only a pair of green pajamas. In the motel room, they found Bruce's wallet, car keys, glasses, and shoes. Law enforcement immediately initiated a search for Bruce that night, but their efforts were unsuccessful. The next morning, they issued a request for information. Police surveyed the area twice, once from a plane and once from a helicopter, but found no trace of Bruce. Local firefighters also joined the search, using a boat to dredge the nearby Mo Stair Creek. High school and university students were let out of classes to help with the search. But despite all these efforts, Bruce remained missing. The most promising lead came a week later, when a farmer several miles northwest of the city reported hearing shouting on or near his property on the night of the 14th. However, no evidence was found to suggest that Bruce had been in that area. After 2 weeks of searching, Melita reluctantly returned home, but both she and Bruce Jr. continued to search for Bruce Sr. Several months into the investigation, the FBI became involved, but found little information or evidence, making no progress in the case. It was revealed during the investigation that the Campbell family had spent most of their savings hiring private investigators, who also failed to uncover any new leads. Due to the lack of information, theories about Bruce's disappearance ranged widely. Online detectives have spun a web of theories about Bruce's mysterious disappearance. Some think he might have suffered a mini-stroke or a sudden cognitive break. Others suggest he got lost and died from exposure, was hit by a driver who then panicked, or that the medicine he took had lethal side effects. There's also speculation that he could have been silently battling undiagnosed dementia or Alzheimer's. However, all these ideas remain just theories. No evidence supports any of them. In 1967, 8 years after Bruce vanished, he was declared legally dead. His wife Melita, who never found out what happened to her beloved husband, passed away in 2004, still without answers. The Voynich Manuscript. The Voynich Manuscript is a puzzling handwritten book from the early 15th century that has baffled scholars and codebreakers since it was found in 1912. One cryptographer noted, "What caught my attention initially was the significant number of words that began with the same letters but ended differently, all accompanied by strange drawings of plants, star charts, and people, with a text that remains undeciphered in an unknown script. Despite many attempts, no one has been able to decode its contents, leading to various theories about its purpose and origins. Some believe it could be an elaborate hoax, while others think it might be a genuine scientific or alchemical work from a lost civilization. The mystery surrounding the manuscript has turned it into a symbol of the unexplained, with its true nature and meaning still a mystery. The 5th Norfolk Battalion. The 5th Battalion Norfolk Regiment, also known as the Norfolk, was a military unit formed by King Edward II during World War I. Their disappearance from the Gallipoli Peninsula has puzzled historians and mystery enthusiasts for years. The goal of the Battle of Gallipoli was for the Allied forces to secure the Dardanelles, a natural strait dividing European and Asian Turkey. The plan was to gain control of the area, making the Ottoman capital vulnerable to Allied bombardment, and cutting off the Ottoman Empire from its Asian territories. The Allies had previously failed in a naval assault against the Ottomans, so the 5th Norfolk Battalion was sent in, comprising 250 men and 16 officers led by Sir Horace Proctor-Bam. They arrived at Gallipoli on August 10, 1915, and were immediately ordered to attack just 2 days later. However, the men were ill-prepared for battle. Many were still recovering from seasickness and dysentery, and they were all fatigued and struggling to adjust to the hot climate. Additionally, there was confusion about their orders, with some some thinking they were attacking a village, while others believed they were clearing the way for British forces. The officers were given maps, but they were for the wrong area. Despite these challenges, Colonel Blimp led the advance. However, they were still over a mile away from the Turkish military when the attack began. Unsurprisingly, the siege was unsuccessful, as the dehydrated and ill-equipped men were not ready for a daylight assault without the necessary resources. As they neared enemy lines, the 5th Battalion was exhausted. They faced heavy machine gun fire and snipers, and casualties mounted on both sides. Colonel Blimp, undeterred, led the group onward. His last known whereabouts were in a farm on the far side of the woods, where he rallied his men, declaring, "Now boys, we've got the village, let's hold it." Sadly, this was the last anyone heard or saw of Blimp and his battalion. Families of the missing were devastated, left with only theories and speculation. Queen Alexandra, King Edward, the Seven's widow, was particularly eager to uncover the truth. She reached out to the Red Cross and a US ambassador stationed in the area, but no trace of the men was found in Turkish prison camps after the war. In 1960-50, a former New Zealand sailor came forward with a story. He claimed to have witnessed the battalion's disappearance in August 1915. According to him, during the battle, they saw between 6 and 8 loaf-shaped clouds hovering over the area. One of these clouds descended over Norfolk and, after some time, rose up to join the others before drifting away. However, his account is considered unreliable due to inconsistencies in his story. In 1919, Reverend Charles Pierre Point Edwards, who was in Gallipoli, reported discovering an area where a Norfolk cap badge was found. He uncovered many bodies, which were buried on a farm similar to where Blimp was last seen. However, this information surfaced much later, and the bodies, if they were indeed there, were never brought home. The Reverend's report, for reasons unknown, was not believed, leaving the fate of the 5th Norfolk Battalion still a mystery. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. In 1587, a group of English settlers, led by John White, embarked on a daring journey to establish a colony on Roanoke Island, off the coast of present-day North Carolina. White, the appointed governor, was tasked with securing the future of this fledgling community. However, their dreams were shattered when White had to return to England for vital supplies. When he finally returned to the island in 1590, his heart sank. The colony, once bustling with life, had vanished into thin air. Buildings stood empty, and not a soul could be found. The only clues left behind were the cryptic word Croatoan, carved into a wooden post, and the letters Crow etched into a nearby tree. These mysterious messages only deepened the mystery of the disappearance. Historians have been baffled for centuries by the fate of the Roanoke colony. Various theories abound, ranging from a violent clash with local Native American tribes to peaceful assimilation with nearby indigenous populations. Some even suggest a desperate relocation due to famine or disease. Despite numerous archaeological digs and exhaustive analysis of historical records, the fate of the lost colony remains elusive, cementing its status as one of America's most enduring unsolved historical mysteries. But can you solve these 5 age-old unsolved mysteries? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The Lost Ninth Legion. Let's journey back about 1,000 years to the era of the Roman Empire. This was a time when history started to become clearer, leaving behind some of the more mythical tales of earlier civilizations. Although Roman history still has its legendary elements, it's relatively easier to distinguish fact from fiction compared to ancient times. However, one of the most baffling mysteries of Roman history is the ultimate fate of the Ninth Legion. The story of the Ninth Legion begins with Julius Caesar, who inherited the legion when he became governor of Cisalpine Gaul, which is modern-day northern Italy. Caesar led the Ninth Legion through the Gallic Wars and the Roman Civil War. After Caesar emerged victorious, he disbanded the legion and settled its veterans in the Italian countryside. These veterans were later recalled by Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, to fight in another civil war, helping him become the Emperor Augustus. The legion then moved around quite a bit, from Spain to Germany to Macedonia, before finally being stationed in Britain. They were present during Boudicca's rebellion in 61 CE, where they suffered a devastating defeat. After this, the legion was reinforced, but their streak of misfortune continued. In 81 CE, the Roman general Agricola led them into Caledonia, a land of myth and legend known today as Scotland. In Caledonia, the Ninth Legion faced a fierce nighttime attack from the Caledonians. Despite being caught off guard, the legion managed to fend off the attackers and later secured a significant victory at the Battle of Mons Graupius. Buoyed by this success, the legion returned to Roman territory. And then, quite suddenly, they vanished from the historical record. What happened to the Ninth Legion? This is where the story ends, shrouded in mystery. Some believe they might have been defeated in battle. Others suggest they were reassigned and lost in administrative records. Despite extensive historical research, no one knows for sure. After Agricola's invasion, there's a single stone tablet that mentions the 9th Legion at York, where they were rebuilding a fort in 108 CE. After this, they simply vanish from historical records. There are later inscriptions found in the Netherlands, but some scholars argue these only refer to detachments of the 9th rather than the entire legion. So, what happened to them? One dramatic theory is that the 9th marched once more into the Caledonian frontier, where they disappeared forever. This idea of their annihilation in northern Britain seemed to be supported by the discovery of a damaged Roman eagle sculpture in the town of Silchester, thought to possibly be the eagle standard of the 9th Legion. However, some archaeologists believe this eagle is just scrap metal, unrelated to the 9th, dismissing the romantic notion of their tragic end. Other theories propose different fates for the 9th Legion. One suggests they were destroyed in Judea during the Second Jewish Revolt against the Romans from 132 to 135 CE. Another theory speculates that the 9th met their end fighting the Parthians during the reign of Marcus Aurelius. However, these theories lack solid evidence, as there is no proof that the 9th was even in the eastern part of the empire during these periods. What we do know is that by around 200 CE, the 9th Legion no longer existed. This is confirmed by their absence from two independent but identical lists of the 33 existing legions of the time. The ultimate fate of the 9th Legion remains one of history's great mysteries. As one historian put it, further evidence is needed before we can say more. For now, the disappearance of the 9th Legion is a puzzle, leaving us to wonder what really happened to these once mighty soldiers. Did they meet a violent end in the wilds of Caledonia? Or were they quietly disbanded and forgotten? Until more clues come to light, the story of the 9th Legion remains lost to history. Which of these age-old unsolved mysteries do you find most intriguing? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.